Hey guys, and welcome to episode number 62 of Limitless Studios TV. As always, check out the forum.limitless-studios.com. I got several posts up there. People post every single day now. It's like 50 posts a day, so it's very active. And just a couple weeks ago, we added a plugins and a recording software subsection of the forum, so you can go in there and talk about free plugins or something you purchased or anything like that. No piracy stuff.
Yeah.
So this week we're going to go over some studio tips that we thought were really helpful, and this might be a little quick video, but it's going to be full of just rapid fire tips.
Useful tips that we've found throughout our years of recording.
Yep.
So the first one is commonly you're wanting a dry sounding drum set, like a real closed mic sounding drum set, and a lot of times you'll get a lot of bleed from your kick drum. And one way to reduce your the amount of bleed you have coming from your kick drum into your overhead mics is by putting a heavy blanket over the top of the kick drum. Really any kind of blanket will work. Just make sure it's pretty heavy, and that'll help you get rid of your kick drum bleed into your overheads.
Mm-hmm.
That way you can still get the sound of your cymbals without having to drop the cymbals too much to reduce the amount of bleed. Another thing on the topic of drums is you often want a bright sounding drums, so by sitting your drum kit on top of a few sheets of plywood, doesn't really matter what kind of plywood, any kind, you'll brighten up the cymbals and your drums, the overall sound of the drums. You'll probably notice if you've been in any kind of studios or anything that the live rooms are all pretty much wood floor, so that's the reason why there's wood floors, because it helps make the room sound more live. It doesn't sound as dead as like carpet or like completely foamed out rooms.
Yeah.
And then for guitars, a lot of people play guitars with tremolos like Floyd Rose or other kinds of things. Most of them have springs in the back of the guitar. When you're playing that through an amplifier, you'll hear the spring noise if you like mute real quick, and sometimes even just during general riffs you can hear the spring noise, and it's pretty annoying to listen to. So a way you can get rid of that is by like putting a bunch of foam in the back compartment, or like what I did is I actually just wrapped a rubber band around the springs. That works pretty good. It's not completely silent as I'd like, so I'm going to put some more foam in there too. And then there's also like you can put like little rubber tubes inside of the actual springs. Mm-hmm. That helps pretty good too.
Because you can actually really notice it. The spring noise can get pretty annoying at times. So another tip for the actual recording process, you're always going to want to record to a click track, obviously. And when you're doing this, sometimes people have trouble, like if you're recording acoustic guitar, you might have to turn the click track up a little more than normal, because the acoustic guitar can get kind of loud. And so make sure you use some sort of isolation headphones or completely closed back, tight fitting headphones. And you want to do this because you don't want the headphones to bleed out into your condenser microphone or whatever you're using for vocals or acoustic guitar or something like that.
Yeah.
Because we found that, especially on softer parts of, if you're recording like finger picking on acoustic guitar, you have to turn your preamp gain way up to get the sensitivity and the tone out of the guitar, and that brings in bleed from anywhere in the room. And the closest thing is going to be your headphones and the click inside of your ears. So you're going to want some sort of ISO headphones that really block out pretty much all of the noise.
Yeah.
So the next thing is something that's a little odd, you don't hear a lot about everywhere. It's basically you want to tune your guitar to whatever riff you're playing, to the notes of the riff. So you're going to want to break down your riff into every single one of its notes and tune to that note so it's not sharp or flat. If you have a perfectly intonated guitar, you really don't have to worry about it as much, but it still won't hurt to get a perfect sounding recording. But if you don't have your guitar set up by some sort of a guitar tech, or you know how to do it yourself, it's really a good idea to tune to your actual riff and each of the notes. That way you get a perfect tune and you don't have to worry about it clashing with the bass tuning or the vocals. and you don't have to worry about auto-tuning your DI tracks later, which can be a pain. Another thing, which we just figured out recently, which is extremely helpful, is to boil your bass strings. Bass strings are extremely expensive for some nice strings. It's about 30 to 40 bucks. And bass strings can go dead pretty easily.
Yeah, very quickly.
The thicker the string, it seems like the quicker that the strings like to go dead.
And also, we like real bright sounding bass strings.
Yes.
Get that little nice chime to it.
Mm-hmm. And since the bass strings don't last an incredibly long amount of time, right before you record, like the day of, pretty much, boil your bass strings. And we actually may do a video on this sometime, maybe not.
Yeah.
But when you do this, it cleans them completely off, and they will sound pretty much brand new, almost as like the day you bought them, for about a day or two. They go dead much faster than brand new strings.
Yes. So
and I would probably only recommend doing that 3 or 4 times, because
it weakens the strings.
Yeah, boiling them will actually weaken the strings.
And only leave them in there for about 5 minutes.
Yeah. And you don't want the string to snap, because bass strings can hurt, actually do damage. I mean, if you break a guitar string, you know, it stings a little bit. You break a bass string, it can cut your head off. So be careful with the bass strings. And the last thing that we're going to talk about is some people have some issues recording to a metronome. And we actually found this out. We were recording an acoustic band the other day. Probably a lot of you were in the stream for that. But they were having trouble recording to the metronome. So we basically went into Stephen Slate Drums and programmed a basic drum loop and looped it for 3 minutes throughout the entire song. And so they used that instead of the metronome. We still have the metronome playing, but just playing the drums, and since it's a loop and it's MIDI, it's perfectly on time. And they were able to play to that very well, and they weren't able to play to the metronome. Yeah. So that's just a tip. If you have issues playing with the metronome, put a drum loop in there, and it works just the same.
Yep.
So, but also make sure you practice with the metronome, because
you can avoid this.
Yeah, you can avoid having to put drum loops in there, and the metronome is, you want to practice with that metronome, because you don't want any part of your riff to be off time with the rest of it.
Yeah.
So it's very important to practice and record with the metronome. So I think that's going to be it for this episode. We will be streaming live on Fridays and Sundays. Just to remind everybody, Fridays around 7 p.m. Eastern Time and Sundays around 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And that's the easiest way to get a hold of us. We'll be monitoring the chat throughout and hopefully getting to your questions. And if you're not there, you can't show up to those times, check out the forum, forum.limitless-studios.com, and we check that every day. And everybody else does as well, so it's not just us monitoring it. So that's going to do it for this week's episode, and we will be back next week for episode number 63 of Limitless Studios TV.